Good afternoon, everyone. इसमें नेट चलेगा? See, if the question comes regarding the factors on the ocean current, any question comes on the factors of the ocean currents, just remember that you mention the factors that originate the ocean currents, you mention the factors that modify the ocean currents. Is the voice clear? What are the factors that originate the ocean currents? Are winds, rotation of the earth, etc., etc. What are the factors that modify the ocean current? Is the configuration of the coast. Configuration of the coast as well as the ओशन बॉटम रिलीफ, ये दो फैक्टर्स है मॉडिफाई द ओशन करंट. और तीसरा फैक्टर हमेशा लिखना जो बुक्स में नहीं है, दैट इज द एकमैन्स ट्रांसपोर्ट. गेटिंग इट? दैट इज द ओशन करंट्स विल ऑलवेज मूव परपेंडिकुलर टू द wind direction. That is the Ekman transport. Quickly revising, what is the Ekman transport? Ki there is a wind is putting some pressure on the, some friction on the water. वाटर पे फ्रिक्शन कौन से डेप्थ तक? 100 मीटर तक, कोई भी वाटर के ऊपर, नॉट जस्ट ऑन द सी वाटर, कोई भी वाटर पे 100 मीटर्स तक देयर विल बी इम्पैक्ट ऑफ द वाटर विंड्स ड्यू टू फ्रिक्शन. अब ड्यू टू फ्रिक्शन द विंड्स विल ड्रैग द ओशन करंट्स, ओशन वाटर इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ओशन करंट्स, बट सबसे ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट विल बी ऑन द टॉप लेयर. एंड देयरफॉर if the wind is moving to the right hand side, the ocean current will start moving to the right side of the wind, because हमेशा प्रेशर ग्रेडियंट फोर्स और फ्रिक्शनल फोर्स के परपेंडिकुलर होता है कोरियोलिस फोर्स. सो प्रेशर ग्रेडियंट फोर्स के कारण विंड ऐसे, विंड इज पुटिंग सम फ्रिक्शन ऑन द वाटर एंड देयरफॉर कोरियोलिस फोर्स उसके लिए, उस ओशन करंट के लिए इज परपेंडिकुलर टू द प्रेशर ग्रेडियंट फोर्स या फ्रिक्शनल फोर्स. सो ओशन करंट ऐसे निकला 45 डिग्रीज में. बट अनलाइक द लेयर्स ऑफ द एयर, लेयर्स ऑफ द वाटर इज डिफरेंट because the changes in the properties of the matter, and इसीलिए the subsequent layers में as the density increases, friction decreases, and therefore they will start deflecting to the right of each and every ocean current. The only difference is deflection will keep on decreasing क्योंकि speed decreases, and therefore पूरा जो ocean water है वो somewhere between 90 to 70 degrees move करेगा. Ekman कहता है exactly 90 degrees, but real life में it is 70 degrees. That is what is the Ekman transport. Ekman transport results into western intensification. मतलब कुछ नहीं है, the generation of the counter equatorial currents, generation of the equatorial currents which will take the water perpendicular to the direction of the trade winds, and we have the equatorial current. Both the equatorial current will converge at the western coast of the oceans, not the continents. Eastern coast of the continents है, western coast of the oceans. That is what we will call as western intensification. Getting it? And ultimately उसके कारण there will be counter equatorial current and north and south currents. That is the north मतलब Gulf Stream etc., warm currents and cold currents. Once the warm water from here goes down, there will be thermohaline circulation of the cold water which will also start. Surface water move करेगा, there will be thermohaline circulation of the cold water which will also start. Fine. And then this thermohaline circulation of the cold water will come down, and at some places it will upwell. So when it upwells, it brings nutrients and dissolved oxygen to the surface. As it brings dissolved oxygen to the surface, therefore there is a more growth of phytoplanktons. अगर कहाँ पे होंगे phytoplanktons? जहाँ पे there is continental shelf. But even if there is no continental shelf, as compared to the other regions, ज़्यादा oxygen है तो ज़्यादा fishes. You have to just understand कि inside the water it is very different like air. एयर में कहीं पे भी ऑक्सीजन इज इन द सेम अमाउंट, वाटर में ऑक्सीजन विल बी डिफरेंट एट डिफरेंट डेप्थ्स बिकॉज इट डज नॉट एग्जैक्टली मिक्स. अगर हम कहते हैं कि 72% इज द अमाउंट ऑफ ऑक्सीजन इन द एटमॉस्फेयर, वाटर के अंदर इट इज लेस, वाटर के अंदर इट इज समवेयर अराउंड 21 to 22%. गेटिंग इट? सो दिस इज द रीजन. द सेकेंड रीजन इज कहाँ हो सकता है और upwelling and downwelling. How the dissolved oxygen goes below the ocean water, this is due to downwelling. इसलिए downwelling are the regions of good fishing zones? नहीं. Fishing कहाँ पे करते हैं हम? We do it on the surface. When the downwelling occurs, oxygen goes below and therefore these are not good for fishing. Thirdly, why the regions of the mixing of warm and cold ocean currents are the best regions? Now her doubt was yesterday that the regions of mixing of warm and cold ocean currents पे downwelling होती है. Then we say downwelling is not good for fishing. How then it is the good fishing zone? Because if this is our imaginary continent, यहाँ से the warm current is coming, warm current is going upwards. In this regions, continental shelf अगर है या नहीं है, in this region tropics है. Tropics में biodiversity is greater. Because of this, biodiversity in the ocean is greater. Algae, phytoplanktons, all the green aquatic plants is greater. Therefore, this region is rich in nutrients. This region is rich in fishes. This region is rich in organic matter. This region is rich in oxygen. So, ये सारा ocean current कहाँ लेके जाएगा? उसके साथ साथ it will take here. Then, when the cold ocean currents come here, it will bring clean water. Fine, it will bring dense water. Denser है water, so obviously oxygen भी is more easily available. For example, when we say that in the entire troposphere oxygen is 72%, fine, but Mount Everest पे ऊपर जाते ही oxygen mask लगता है. Why? Because density decreases and therefore you have to take more air inside to take in the oxygen. Getting it? So you see here that as it is coming with the cold dense water, it is bringing more oxygen यहाँ से, more phytoplanktons यहाँ से, plus continental shelf, and therefore Grand Banks region is the rich fishing region of the world, the richest fishing region of the world. Getting is? Downwelling होने दो मत होने दो उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. Fine? और prelims के questions जो मैंने पूछा था आपको, downwelling याद रखना, it will remove the nutrients, bad for fishing. Upwelling, will it bring? See, this was the question. The regions of upwelling are good for fishes because one brings bottom dwelling organisms, 2 brings nutrients to the surface, 3 brings dissolved oxygen to the surface. Select correct option. A, 1 and 2 only. B, 1 and 3 only. C, 2 and 3 only. D, 1, 2 and 3. C. And nutrients को लाएगा, oxygen को लाएगा, it will not bring the minerals to the surface. Getting it? Clear? So छोटी छोटी चीजें we'll have to remember. Clear with this? Now the next topic we are going to do is the layers of ocean water. Fine. So you can take this map along with me when I do the layers of the ocean water or ocean habitats या कुछ भी इसको कहते हैं या the oceanic zones of the world. So we can know that, can I say the oceanic zones or the layers of the ocean water can be divided into two: coastal habitats and oceanic habitats. There are two: coastal habitats and the oceanic habitats. Oceanic habitats are further divided into pelagic and benthic. कल मैंने आपको बताया था what is benthic, the deepest part, and that is the floor of the ocean. And what is pelagic, उसके ऊपर का region. अभी तक हमने पास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चंस पूछे देखे हैं, सबसे क्या पूछा है? तो दे हैव आस्क्ड ओनली पेलाजिक, दे हैव नॉट गॉन टू द बेंथिक, और वैसे पूछेंगे भी नहीं बेंथिक, बिकॉज वी डोंट नो व्हाट इज प्रेजेंट इन द बेंथिक जोन्स. Recently there was a question, कभी तक नहीं आया था, but recently there was a question on the coastal habitat. But coastal habitat means what? Nothing but lagoons, mangroves, estuaries and corals. So recently they had asked you to compare between the coral coast and the mangrove coastline. What is the difference between the coastline in the coral regions and the mangrove coastline? The pelagic biome is further divided into neritic and oceanic. If you remember yesterday, I told you what is neritic. Littoral zone जो है, littoral zone का आगे का part, that is known as neritic. You will understand now what is neritic. Pelagic मतलब जो पानी के नीचे है. So out of that there is a neritic region and the oceanic region. Neritic region is the region which is very, very shallow. Oceanic region is the region which is very deep. And the oceanic province is further divided into epipelagic, mesopelagic, bathypelagic and so on. I will not. Yes. Pelagic biome, you saw yesterday's lecture. Pelagic biome is the biome which is present over the oceanic crust. Littoral biome is the biome which is mostly a part of continent. Pelagic biome is the biome which is mostly a part of ocean, nothing else, and therefore distance may vary. So we have drawn, I had showed that in the yesterday's diagram. Bathypelagic, फिर hypopelagic, फिर abyssal pelagic. कोई don't worry, bathypelagic को further divide करते हैं हम. And benthic, can I continue? benthic biome matlab the biome which is present at the ocean bottom. Ab this bottom can be bottom of deep sea or the bottom of continental margins. Bottom of the continental margins. What do you mean by the bottom of continental margins? Continental shelf के नीचे का, slope के नीचे का, या the bottom at the continental rise. Deep sea bottom means abyssal plain का bottom, oceanic trenches का bottom. So you can now understand once, because once I have divided, क्यों बाकी के questions नहीं है, क्योंकि कुछ है ही नहीं बाकी के part में. Everything is on the pelagic, and therefore 6 to 7 times the pelagic questions have been asked, but there is no question on the other because they will not asked. फिर in the recent years जब UPSC is making our subject tough, they are asking you one question on the coastal habitats. That is, what is the difference between the mangrove coast and the coral coast? Cold coral coast. Cold corals होते हैं, cold coral coast नहीं होता कभी. Cold corals have, and I'll teach the corals. Am I doing the corals right now? And I had taught you cold corals in GS last year. What are the cold corals? Deep sea corals. They are the corals which do not live in the colonies. Fine, they are found on the deep seas. So the coastal habitats in this fine. Sometimes they ask you the question regarding the layers of oceans. Sometimes they ask you regarding the biomes. जब तक biomes और layers of ocean पे आता है question ये है, ocean deposits का question ये नहीं. Ocean deposits slightly different answer है as compared to the layers of the oceans. Ocean deposit is given very very properly in Savindra Singh, very nicely in Savindra Singh. The only difference is उस पूरे chapter को you should make it in one page, because bar that things are being repeated. So you just have to make that entire chapter in one page, but it is very properly given. In which book of Savindra Singh? In the physical geography of Savindra Singh. And coincidentally, yeah, I don't know why, if you buy oceanography of Savindra Singh, उसमें से ocean deposit is गायब है, but it is present in the physical geography of Savindra Singh. So वो chapter भी करना, but पहले अपने notes, right? And this is not given in that, obviously, that book of the Savindra Singh, that is the ocean habitats. Neritic photic zone or photic zone, depending upon the depth. यही हम अभी लिखेंगे. What are the differences? Bathy, B-A-T-H-Y, pelagic. Low energy coast is mangrove coast. And the difference of the question was difference between the low energy coast and the coral coast, not directly mangrove coast. But is mangrove protecting us from tsunamis, cyclones? Why? Because it reduces the energy or speed. That is why it is known as an low energy coast. सोचना था. अगर कंसेप्ट पता है कि मैनग्रोव्स में स्पीड ऑफ द वेव्स, टाइड्स, विंड्स, एवरेथ्रा डिक्रीजेस, तो फिर यू नो व्हाट इज अ लो एनर्जी कोस्ट. अगर नहीं वहां पे याद आया, डर गए क्वेश्चन देख के, तो आंसर नहीं लिख सकते. फिर बच्चों ने क्या किया? कंडीशंस फॉर कोरल रीफ्स. आपको क्या था? कंडीशंस फॉर मैनग्रोव कोस्ट एंड कंडीशंस फॉर कोरल रीफ कोस्ट कंपेयर करना. हाँ, मतलब जिनको पता नहीं लो एनर्जी कोस्ट, जिन्होंने दिमाग चलाया वो चल गया दिमाग वहां पर. वैसे दिया है ये बुक में, एक बुक में दिया है, बट क्वेश्चन इज हाउ मेनी बुक्स आर यू गोइंग टू रीड? फाइन, हाउ मेनी बुक्स आर यू गोइंग टू रीड? So take down. Point number 1, ocean habitats and marine biomes. Ocean habitat and marine biome account for about two-thirds of the total areas, about two-thirds of the total areas of all terrestrial, of all terrestrial, of all terrestrial and oceanic habitats, oceanic habitats of the world. Do this part which we are doing very properly for your environment ecology also, GS में ये जो हम कर रहे हैं. फाइन, सिर्फ आपको एनवायरमेंट इकोलॉजी में से फैक्ट्स याद रखना है, यहाँ पे प्रॉपरली सब स्टेटमेंट्स भी याद रखना है. सेकंड पॉइंट, द ओशन प्रोवाइड्स, देखो फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट पे कितना परसेंट है ओशियन हैबिटेट, ओशियनिक बायोम, टू-थर्ड. दैट मीन्स टेरेस्ट्रियल बायोम इज वन-थर्ड. सो कल अगर क्वेश्चन आता है प्रोडक्टिविटी ऑफ टेरेस्ट्रियल बायोम इज ग्रेटर और ओशियनिक हैबिटेट इज ग्रेटर, ओशियनिक हैबिटेट बाय द sheer size, getting it, by the sheer size. और इसके अंदर, इस ओशन हैबिटेट के अंदर फिर कोरल्स, विरल्स एक्सेट्रा भी आएंगे. गेटिंग इट? नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, द ओशंस प्रोवाइड habitats for marine plants. In the bracket, what are marine plants known as? Phytoplanktons. Marine plants, phytoplanktons. And marine animals, bracket में zooplanktons, zooplanktons, comma nekton community, nekton community. What is nekton community? जो स्विम करते हैं. नेक्टॉन कम्युनिटी मतलब फिशेस जो स्विम कर सकती है, नथिंग एल्स. नेक्टॉन कम्युनिटी, कॉमा बेंथिक कम्युनिटी, एक्सेट्रा, जो सरफेस पे फ्लोट करते हैं, नेरेटिक कम्युनिटी, नेरेटिक कम्युनिटी, बेंथिक कम्युनिटी, एक्सेट्रा. बेंथिक मतलब देखो जो सरफेस पे रहते हैं नेरेटिक, हमें लिखने की जरूरत नहीं. जू प्लैंक्टन्स, छोटे छोटे एनिमल्स. जो एकदम बॉटम पे रहते हैं बेंथिक, जो बीच में रहते हैं नेक्टॉन. कभी नीचे गया, कभी ऊपर आया, कभी नीचे गया, कभी ऊपर आया, एंड कभी मतलब फॉर एग्जाम्पल शार्प, कभी इट गोज डाउन, इट कम्स अप, एक्सेट्रा. फाइन. नेक्स्ट, so today, yesterday one of the biggest jokes happened. Dr. Chaitanya, my friend, मैं उसको घर लेके गया. He is a doctor also and he is also managing here everything. मेरा फिजियोथेरेपी वाला आया घर पे, उससे फिजियोथेरेपी चल रही थी, चैतन्य देख रहा था. फिजियोथेरेपिस्ट होने के बाद चैतन्य ने उसको पूछा, आर यू अ फिजियोथेरेपिस्ट प्रॉपरली? बोलते नहीं सर, मैं डिग्री नहीं एक्सपीरियंस से कर रहा हूँ. तो ओके ओके. वो जाने के बाद बोला, इसलिए तो ठीक नहीं हो रहा है क्योंकि ये पूरा तेरे पे पर एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहा है. वही 1-1.5 महीने से ही इज स्ट्रेचिंग मी, बट स्ट्रेचिंग के बाद जो रिलैक्सेशन देना है वो नहीं कर रहा है. फिर मेरी गर्दन ले रहा है, ऐसे कर रहा है और ऐसे कर रहा है. फिर मेरी पीठ ले रहा है, ऐसे कर रहा है, ऐसे कर रहा है. तो मैं भी सोच रहा हूँ कि मैं बॉम्बे जाता हूँ 2 दिन में ठीक होके आता हूँ और दिल्ली में 1 महीने से फिजियोथेरेपी चल रही है, तो क्यों ठीक नहीं हो रहा हूँ? तो दैट इज द रीजन। आज से बंद कर दूंगा। तो हाँ, मतलब अभी से, मतलब आज से ही, जब वो आएगा तब से उसको कहा कि आज मैं नहीं आने वाला हूँ। So obviously for us who don't have medical knowledge, we don't know the exercises. But he is telling me कि extension तो कर रहा है, extension के बाद there has to be relaxation. For example, you do dumbbells में ऐसे extension and you do contraction, तो फिर मसल्स रिलैक्स होंगे। तो मेरा सिर्फ पैर ऐसे ऐसे खींचे जा रहा है, खींचे जा रहा है, और फिर मेरे को पूछ रहा है कि नस खींच रही है? मैं बोला हाँ खींच रही है, अच्छा लग रहा है तब, जब तक वो करता है, तो उसके बाद ठीक ही नहीं हो रहा है। सो दैट इज द रीजन आई वाज नॉट, wrong line of treatment is next point. Next point, classification of ocean habitats into coastal and classification of ocean habitats. Take it in the points only. Into coastal and oceanic habitats. Classification of ocean habitats are into coastal and oceanic habitats. Into coastal and oceanic habitats. Coastal habitats, next point, are in the form of lagoons, estuaries, and wetlands. हमें अभी ये नहीं करना है, lagoons, estuaries and wetlands. But can you tell me what is the difference between lagoon and estuary? Simple GS में. What is lagoon? What is estuary? What is a wetland? What? Not necessarily. तो क्या होता है? Lagoon and estuary can be both wetlands. Wetland is any zone where there is a presence of water or moisture. If there is a coastal wetland, uska depth at the low tide should not exceed 6 meters. Fine? That is what is a wetland. कहीं पे भी जो पानी है. अब पानी जो है, it can be when the river का mouth has submerged below the sea, it is estuary. और पानी can be when some lake is near the coast but separated from the sea by a narrow land. That is what is known as lagoon. Lagoon means a lake that is separated from the main water body, that is the sea, by a narrow landmass. For example, Lake Chilika, it is separated from the Bay of Bengal by a narrow land masses, or Pulicat Lake, etc. Getting it? Next. Estuary is nothing but the mouth delta which has got submerged below the sea. अच्छा, क्या हो रहा है? ये तो ये लाइट्स एक्स्ट्रा तो नहीं चल रही? नहीं, रहने दीजिए. And then there are oceanic habitats, and we'll start with the oceanic habitats. सबसे पहले pelagic habitat. बहुत properly करना pelagic biome. You can see with the importance how many time it has been asked. oceanic habitats, the oceanic habitats oceanic habitats can be divided on the basis of can be divided on the basis of environmental conditions of the sea, environmental conditions of the sea, comma, location, location and biomes, and biomes. सेम एज इट इज ये पॉइंट है चैप्टर 5 में भी, ठीक है। ये क्वेश्चन आ सकता है एज अ क्वेश्चन नंबर 2, क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 और क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 आल्सो इन पेपर 1. इट इज एज इट इज प्रेजेंट इन सिलेबस में चैप्टर 5, दैट इज एनवायरमेंट एंड इकोलॉजी, on the basis of location, environmental conditions and biomes into pelagic and benthic biomes, into pelagic and benthic biomes. Similarly, on the basis of sunlight, it is classified into photic और euphotic. आपको पता है अप टू 200 meters. Dysphotic meters to 1000 meters. Aphotic beyond 1000 meters. Obviously इस पे क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा, जैसे जैसे आप नीचे जाते हो, the zone of light euphotic or photic, the zone of dispersed sunlight, so dysphotic. Dysphotic does not means no sunlight, dispersed light is therefore dysphotic, and aphotic means no light, the dark zone which is below the thermocline halocline layer. Getting it? Next, choice is yours, कहाँ यूज करना है, कहाँ नहीं यूज करना है, या यूज ही नहीं करना है, दिस इंफॉर्मेशन. बट ये बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन है, दैट इज व्हाई आई गेव यू. फाइन, ये जीएस में ज्यादा काम आएगा, नॉट इन ऑप्शनल. गेटिंग इट? नेक्स्ट इज pelagic habitats and biomes. Pelagic habitats and biomes occurs the entire region of oceans and seas, of the oceans and seas from generally from shelf break. You already know what is shelf break, जहाँ से continental shelf break होता है. That is why Savindra Singh has two different depths, क्योंकि continental shelf का depth will be different from the shelf break, or from low tide zone, or from the low tide zone, जहाँ पे पानी लो टाइड पे होता है, थोड़ा दूर जहाँ पे पानी हाई टाइड पे होता है, दैट इज लिटोरल. फाइन, जहाँ पे पानी लो टाइड पे होता है, दैट इज नेरेटिक. इट हैज 2% of the species of marine habitat. It that has the 2% of the species of the marine habitat. Next point, it is also known as biozone. Tell me why pelagic is known as biozone. Sunlight pelagic में जरूरी नहीं. Pelagic biome is this entire sea. क्योंकि pelagic biomes दो टाइप के ओशन बायोम्स है, pelagic and benthic. Benthic is the depth. जनरली वहां पे लाइफ नहीं होती. लाइफ कहाँ होती है? उसके ऊपर पानी में. Therefore biozones. Getting it? And now draw this diagram. And ये diagram रटा होना चाहिए. Means you should do this diagram very properly for your exam and try to use it as much as in oceanography. What is LTL? What is HTL? High tide level, low tide level. Water level of high tide and water level of low tide. LDL नहीं है, LTL है. कोलेस्ट्रॉल यहाँ पे क्यों आएगा? ये डायग्राम शंकर आईएएस में भी है. Understanding pelagic into neritic and oceanic. Obviously this will be the littoral zone जो मैं नहीं draw कर रहा हूँ. कहाँ पे होगा littoral? This will be the littoral zone. डू ओनली द डायग्राम फ्रॉम द सविंद्र सिंह. ज्यादा ऊपर ऊपर से पढ़ना है तो पढ़ो, बिकॉज थोड़ी मिस्टेक्स है उस बुक में, थोड़ा कंफ्यूजिंग वे में दिया है ना सविंद्र सिंह. इट इज बिट कंफ्यूजिंग दैट. कैन आई कंटिन्यू? Up to the depth of 200 meters is the fatigue zone. Yes. What you want? Color. Color blind. You cannot see red color. Are you really color blind? You cannot see red color at all. You cannot see this. क्या है ये? दिख रहा है? Don't worry, मैं लिखूंगा वो. क्योंकि बोर्ड नहीं है कि मैं सिर्फ इसको रब कर सकता हूँ. अगर मैंने यहाँ इरेजर रखा तो सब गायब हो जाएगा. This what I have written is epipelagic. उसके नीचे is mesopelagic. उसके नीचे is bathypelagic. उसके नीचे is abaso. A B Y S S O pelagic. एंड जो बॉटम ड्वेलिंग है उसके भी नीचे दैट इज बेंथिक. Clear with this? Photic, epipelagic, meso, bathy, abesso. Easy. सी डायग्राम फिर से कैसे याद रखोगे? नेरेटिक कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ के ब्रेक तक, उसके बाद ओशियनिक. जो जो पानी का लेवल है दैट इज एंटायरली, दिस इज द लिटोरल जोन, ओशन वाला, बाकी का इज द पेलाजिक बायोम. पेलाजिक इनटू नेरेटिक एंड ओशियनिक. नेरेटिक इज अप टू द कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ का ब्रेक, बाकी का पूरा इज ओशियनिक. 200 मीटर्स तक फोटिक, उसके बाद एपीपेलाजिक. दिस टू हैव नो रिलेशन, इसलिए मैंने पेन डिफरेंट यूज किया. अदरवाइज पेन अगर सेम यूज करता यू वुड हैव थॉट दिस इज रिलेटेड. नहीं, it is not at all related. Photic is with sunlight. So photic के बाद dysphotic होता, उसके बाद aphotic होता, वो अलग classification है. This classification is pelagic. Pelagic का further layers epi पहला, epi means first, epiphyte, fine. फिर meso means middle, mesopelagic. फिर bathypelagic means at greater depth. abesso मतलब खाई, abesso-pelagic उसके नीचे. Getting it? Even in the examination, if you get confused, don't write photic zone. It is not required. Photic zone. Photic is photic, dysphotic, and aphotic. हाँ. Fine. So epi, meso, bathy, and abesso. Neretic, littoral. So GS में हमेशा पढ़ते हो, littoral zone of the oceans are the regions of mangroves, are the regions of estuaries, fine, are the regions of highest biodiversity. This littoral zone in environment ecology में पढ़ा होगा is what is known as, between two different biomes, what it is known as? Ecotone. ये अलग biome है, ये अलग biome है, land है. This is water body. It is known as an ecotone. Fine. So first point, easy diagram. Now this diagram is a bit complicated, thoda confusing hai because of this photic zone in Savindra Singh. You get confused because of this. It has no relation to that. Savindra Singh में this is given as photic, यहाँ पे दिया है aphotic, and नीचे दिया है 200 meters. That is why the confusion occurs. So first, neretic. Neretic. It covers the water. It covers the water from CS, continental shelf. Covers the water from continental shelf to the slope, right? To the slope is neretic. But the depth should not exceed 200 meters. Depth should not exceed 200 meters. मतलब neretic is always photic. Can I say this? Neretic is always photic. क्योंकि 200 से ऊपर, so मैं लिखाऊंगा नहीं. So can I conclude with this neretic biome? It is the most productive region of the ocean in the terms of ecological productivity. सबसे ज़्यादा क्यों? Why most productive? Tell me why most productive? क्योंकि ये 200 मीटर के ऊपर है, so why most productive? न्यूट्रिएंट्स कहाँ से आएंगे? तो फोटिक जोन है तो क्या हुआ? तो क्या होगा? प्लांट्स होगा तो ये बोलो कि फोटोसिंथेसिस होगा. फाइन, कम डायरेक्टली टू द पॉइंट कि दिस रीजन इज द जोन ऑफ फोटोसिंथेसिस. न्यूट्रिएंट से लेना देना ही नहीं हमें. दिस इज द मोस्ट प्रोडक्टिव जोन बिकॉज इट इज द रीजन ऑफ फोटोसिंथेसिस. और कौन करेगा फोटोसिंथेसिस? तो एग्जाम में ऐसे नहीं लिख पाओगे इतना. लेयर्स ऑफ द ओशन वाटर डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन आया था कुछ सालों पहले. कितने वाट्स के लिए आया था? कैन समवन टेल मी? नहीं, 16 marks. कितने? What is the question number? Above the abyssal plane, different layers of the ocean water above the abyssal plane. 30 marks के लिए means you have to write about 1 2 3 4. This is the question. Getting different layers of the ocean water. Some layer is epipelagic, some layer is basopelagic, some layer is bathypelagic, some layer is abyssopelagic. Getting it? So next point. नहीं भूलोगे वर्ड नेरीटोस. ओस मतलब ऑफ, नेरी मतलब कोस्ट, region of the coast in Greek language. Neritos. Getting it? Neritic. Next point. This is the most productive region. This is the most productive habitat. Neritic. This is the most productive habitat. Ecologically, because of presence of phytoplanktons, because of the presence of phytoplanktons, diatoms, and zooplanktons. Diatoms and zooplanktons. So understand this ocean food chain, production is of plants, that is the phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons are eaten by zooplanktons. Zooplanktons are eaten by diatoms. Diatoms are eaten by crustaceans. Crustaceans are eaten by fishes. So अगर ये zone ही नहीं है तो phytoplanktons ही नहीं है. Phytoplanktons ही नहीं है तो there is no food. That is why it is the most productive. जैसे हमारे यहाँ पे we eat the tree by herbivorous, herbivorous by carnivorous, carnivorous by tiger. So वैसे phytoplanktons by zooplanktons, zooplanktons by diatoms, diatoms by crustaceans. Crustaceans means all the animals which have shell, crabs जैसा, and the crustaceans by the fishes. So therefore we say it is the most productive zone. Getting it? Next. Are these lectures available on the website or web app only? Optional. Website. Website पे है, दिखता है लैपटॉप पे. Why? ऐप पे नहीं, वेबसाइट पे है ना. Next point. Therefore, ecological energy is very high. Ecological energy is very high. And we call neritic zone as the energy rich habitat. We call the neritic zone as the energy rich habitat. As the energy rich habitat. Energy rich habitat. Next, open sea habitats. Open sea habitats. कौन सा? Marginal sea, lagoons, estuaries. Open sea habitat मतलब oceanic. Open sea habitat और oceanic habitat. अब समझ में आएगा. Open sea habitats और oceanic habitats. ये पूरा ओशन का ही पार्ट है, याद रखना. But habitats. This is the habitat that is generally present. This is the habitat that is generally present above the abyssal plains. Direct question tha. Layers of the ocean above the abyssal plain. Above the abyssal plain. Above the abyssal plain. And they are divided into epipelagic. Epipelagic. Up to 200 meters. Up to 200 meters. It is similar to neritic biome. It is similar to neritic biome in the terms of light energy. In the terms of light energy, but with lesser species. But with lesser species. Tell me, why is this? Why lesser species? What is present here and what is not present here? Base for plants to grow. This zone is dominated by floating organisms. This zone is dominated by floating organisms of both plant and animal variety. Floating organisms of both plant and animal variety. Floating organisms of both plant and animal variety. Can you tell me one famous plant which is a floater? Obviously oceanic biome का नहीं है, but one famous plant that is a floating variety. Lotus या water lily, जिसको पाकिस्तानी लैंग्वेज में नाम है नीलूफर, इसीलिए वाटर लिली को. कमल है लोटस, नीलूफर इसीलिए साइक्लोन नीलूफर. गेटिंग इट? गोल गोल नहीं, मतलब प्लांट के ऊपर से नाम दिया. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, मेसोपेलाजिक. From the depth of 200 to 1000 meters, from the depth of 200 to 1000 meters, from the depth of 200 to 1000 meters, the amount of sunlight decreases. Amount of sunlight decreases, and some dispersed sunlight is available. Some dispersed sunlight is available. Therefore, this region is similar to dysphotic zone. This region is similar to the dysphotic zone. This region is similar to dysphotic zone. It covers 28% volume of entire pelagic biome. It covers 28% volume of entire pelagic biome. Next, bathypelagic. Next is bathypelagic. From 1000 to 4000 meters. From 1000 to 4000 meters. It is a aphotic zone. It is a aphotic zone. The only source of light here is only source of light here is bioluminescence. Bioluminescence. फेमस कौन सा है बायोल्यूमिनेसेंस? Jellyfish inside this. What you said? Jugnu is not in the oceanic biome. I was asking you about the oceanic biome. Jellyfish coming on the surface is not good. Therefore, Chennai ka. Why jellyfish? Because jellyfish is very poisonous. What? Tasty? Yeah, they sting to the people. That is a stingray. The sting is the stingray. Even some varieties of the jellyfish are full of poison, and when they sting to the people, they may result into death. Kab aate upar? If the ocean is becoming very, very polluted. That is, in the search of more oxygen, they come on the top. Next. This region is dominated by Nekton community, by the Nekton community. And has the presence of dissolved oxygen, and very low nutrients. Very low nutrients. The physical conditions of the sea are, can you tell me what will be the physical conditions of the sea? High temperature, low temperature. Low temperature. The physical conditions of the sea are low temperature, higher density, and very high hydrostatic pressure. Abyssopelagic. From the depth of 4000 to 6000 meters. From the depth of 4000 to 6000 meters. Representing 54% of the pelagic biome. Representing 54% of the pelagic biome. मतलब सबसे ज्यादा एरिया कौन सा है ओशन का? एबेसोपेलाजिक. ये एक याद रखो, पहले का 28% याद नहीं रखा, एपीपेलाजिक का तो भी चलेगा. दिस इज 54% ऑफ द पेलाजिक बायोम. Is there food available easily in the abyssopelagic zone? Food available easily in the abyssopelagic zone? No. पानी light है यहाँ पे? No. So most of the animals of the fishes who live here are totally blind, and they are very beautiful. Animals and fishes. Why they are very beautiful? Just to attract the prey. Therefore, to attract the prey, they are beautiful, so that the prey comes near them and they can grab it. बाकी के सेंसेस तो होंगे, बाकी के सेंसेस किसी को नहीं. Most of the fishes are blind, but see, there are some animals, even some of the corals will live in this region. There are some animals These animals are not swimming community, they are attached to the coast, attached, and they have an opening, tentacles, and they generally will catch with the help of tentacles. Dolphin को कहाँ दिखता है कुछ? Dolphin is blind. You know that dolphin is blind? Dolphin is totally blind. Even this bat is totally blind. So, and so these are the most beautiful animals, and obviously they will catch. So the next point, this zone which is characterized by total darkness, this zone which is characterized by total darkness is called total darkness, has very low biodiversity, has very low biodiversity, and therefore sparsely inhabited, therefore sparsely inhabited, sparsely inhabited. The animals mostly feed on, the animals mostly feed on detritus. What is detritus? Dead and decompose. Detritus. And therefore, mostly decomposers live there. Mostly decomposers live there. Some of the animals also sustain themselves on hydrothermal vents. On hydrothermal vents. See, this is the most on hydrothermal vents. What are hydrothermal vents? जहाँ से hot water is coming on the ocean surface, volcano is coming on the ocean surface. And अगर आप पूछोगे मेरे से कि कैसे sustain करते हैं, remember, यहाँ का food chain is completely complex. यहाँ का food chain is not like our food chain कि कुछ खा लिया और हमने कैल्शियम ले लिया, दूध पी के कैल्शियम ले लिया, बनाना खा के पोटेशियम लिया. Right? This is our food chain. Our body is doing the breaking mechanisms. These are the animals which will take the silica from the water, sulfur from the hydrothermal vents, and do their own chemical reaction to produce their own food. And thus they will sustain themselves. It is not like our food chain. Getting it? Ready-made food nahi hai. They will make their own food, just like plants. So if the plants are producers in this biome, yahan pe animals themselves are producers. Where are the plants producers? जहां तक light है. Where can the animals are producers? So जो animals who cannot produce but still are living there, फिर they will have to develop swimming. Come, eat, and again go back. That is what is the nekton community. Getting it? Next point. Most of the animals, most of the organisms, most of the animals have adapted to protect from extreme pressure, and use eyes to see in minimal light or total darkness. To see in minimal light or total darkness. These are the animals who are, likho mat, I'm just telling you an extra information. These are the animals who are extremely sensitive to blue light. We are extremely sensitive to light. Blue light का हमें दिखता नहीं है. अगर मैंने ब्लू कलर का एलईडी लगाया वर्सेस येलो कलर का बल्ब लगाया तो ब्लू कलर का एलईडी आपको बहुत ही कम दिखाएगा. आप कभी ब्लू कलर का टॉर्च लगा के दूर का देखने नहीं जाओगे. जनरली आवर लाइट इज सेंसिटिव टू येलो लाइट, but these are the animals who can watch in the blue light. Our eyes get damaged by the blue light. Their eyes can spot even smallest amount of blue light. That is what we have written. Next, majority of the animals include, majority of the animals include octopus, eel, rays, eel, rays, stingray, etc., rays, and sharks. And sharks. Next, abyssopelagic. Sorry, we have done abyssopelagic. Of the last is below the abyssopelagic. एक last point. Below the abyssopelagic is Hadal biome. Is the HADEL Hadal biome. Trenches. Abyssopelagic 6,000 मीटर तक. But what about trenches? इस biome का अलग नाम है. So next is Hadal pelagic. Hadal pelagic. I'll tell you what is benthic. नहीं, बेंथिक का पार्ट नहीं है. बेंथिक अलग है, पेलाजिक अलग है. हाँ, confined to trenches. बेंथिक मतलब bottom. It can be bottom of the shallow region, it can be bottom of a trench, it can be bottom of a normal ocean. उसके ऊपर का पानी मतलब पेलाजिक. ठीक है? So बेंथिक यहाँ पे क्या है? लिटोरल बेंथिक, सब लिटोरल बेंथिक, एबेसोबेंथिक. हाँ, जो वाटर में नहीं है. That is what is the benthic community. At the bottom, stuck to the bottom. Corals stuck, mangroves stuck, they cannot swim. Hadal pelagic extends below 6,000 meters depth. Generally found in the oceanic trenches. It's found in the oceanic trenches. Thus, it is not spread all across the oceans. Thus, it is not spread all across the oceans. Thus, it is not spread all across the oceans. No plants can thrive in this region. Can thrive in this region, but are known for some animals such as, decapods, डिका मीन्स 10, पॉड मीन्स पैर, जिनको 10 पैर से ज्यादा है, डिकापॉड्स, 10 से ज्यादा पैर है। सी ये सिर्फ ट्रेंचेस के एनिमल्स है और कहीं नहीं है। कॉमा रैट टेल फिश, etc. I'll show you some of the photos. रैट रैट टेल फिश का जनरली कलर होता है ग्रीन, ब्लू, सॉरी रेड इन कलर, दे आर हैविंग रेड कलर का टेल। एंड इसीलिए जब वो चेन्नई के कोस्ट में 2000, it was seen in the 2012, 2004, 6 months before the tsunami, fishermen went and said कि कुछ तो बुरा होने वाला है, because ये फिश सरफेस पे कभी नहीं आती। It can come anywhere, wherever it wants. वो कहीं पे भी आ सकती है। See, generally this is how the fish looks like. ये है अजीब जो एनिमल्स दिखते हैं, these are belonging to the abyssopelagic के नीचे के। Yes, big mouth, big eyes, क्योंकि अंधेरे में कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है, so very very big eyes, big mouth, tail बहुत कम होगा, और this अजीब दिखने वाले creatures, they cannot swim much, so वो whatever fish enters, whatever the animal enters, they will eat it. So very soft body, very mushy body, so that they can no, red tail fish appeared. Rat fish जो मैंने दिया है, there is one more fish which is known as angel fish, which lives only in the Japan trench, Mariana trench के आसपास, and this is what is the angel fish, or I'll show you here. Fine, so that is the, can you write the answer? Layers above the ocean water, pelagic biomes, epi, beso, bathy, etc. ये पता नहीं कब खुलेगा। I'll show you here only. Totally transparent body. जितना भी light है वो जाना चाहिए अंदर. This is what is known as an angler fish. It's all about adaptation. And very quickly, benthic habitats. These are the bottom areas of oceans, from shallow depth regions of neritic to hadal zone bottoms. Tell me, have you understood this language? That is from the continental shelf to the trenches ka bottom dwelling organisms is benthic, benthos. So if can I continue? So you can see in the diagram here where we have written the benthic. Pura region is benthic. If you go through the Shankar IS का oceanic biomes को वाला diagram, यहाँ से शुरू होता है benthic. All the bottom. उसके ऊपर के पानी में pelagic. So hadal pelagic. And exactly जो सिर्फ यहाँ रहते हैं, यहाँ से दूर जा ही नहीं सकते, swim भी नहीं कर सकते, they are benthic. And जो swim करते हैं, for example angler fish which I told you, it does swim but it will not never come on the surface. But the animals which come on the surface as well as can go deep, they are known as nekton, powerful swimmers. Not just swimmers. You also can swim, but you won't be classified as a nekton community. Nekton community means very powerful swimmers which can come on the surface as well as can go to the depth. Can I say characteristics? Tell me one or few characteristics of the benthic zone. Zero sunlight, this is also benthic. Yes, but very very low sunlight, because neritic का area देखो and abyssal का area देखो. So if you look at the entire benthic community, neritic is just a small area, some fraction of an area, 7%, 13% of an area. Baki ka is the abyssal biome ka area. So first characteristics is very low biomass, very low biomass and bioproductivity. Tell me what is biomass? Weight of all the living organisms there. That is what is known as an biomass. What is the biomass of the class? The weight of all of us plus the weight of जो यहाँ पे animals है, insects होंगे या microorganisms होंगे, उन सब का weight in the classroom. We are not the only animals in the classroom right now. Bioproductivity कि हम कितना food we can make और कितना amount of काम की चीज है हम में, कितना humus आपकी body बनाएगी if you get decomposed, वो humus कितने animals को support करेगा, या tiger अगर आपको खाएगा तो कितना bioproductive. Fine. For example, those who are thin, Tiger कहेगा एक ही नहीं, you are having low bioproductivity. If tiger comes to eat me, maybe they will require 2 tigers. High bioproductivity, getting it? So that is the biomass versus bioproductivity. Productivity कितने life को मैं support कर सकता हूँ after my death, right? Biomass कितना weight है. So obviously this region has a very low biomass and low bioproductivity because there is general absence of sunlight. Because there is general absence of sunlight. In the deeper benthic zones. Second, हाँ, because light नहीं है तो oxygen कहाँ से आएगा? Less amount of oxygen, light नहीं तो second characteristics. Animals and plants. Animals and plants reproduce throughout the year. Reproduce throughout the year. Due to lack of seasons. See, except for the human beings, all the other animals and the plants have seasonal cycle of reproduction. Except for the higher, whether it is a dog, whether it is a cat, whether it is a plant. The only plant which can reproduce throughout the year are evergreen forest. Otherwise, बाकी का most of the forest is, why कहाँ पे है evergreen forest? At the equator. Why? Because conditions are same throughout the year. यहाँ पे also conditions are same throughout the year because sunlight नहीं है, seasonal interaction नहीं है, climate changes नहीं है, क्योंकि it is the same, ocean currents affect नहीं कर रहे, and therefore, getting it? Next point. The benthic animals largely depend on food supplies in the form of detritus and fecal matter. In the form of detritus and the fecal matter. Even the fecal matter of the organisms which are at the top is the food for the organisms at the benthic community. And the last characteristics is, depending upon the location benthic zone or habitat, जो लिखना है वो लिखो, is divided into now it's very easy if you understand, otherwise difficult. Is benthic, ये पूरा benthic है. Can I modify this diagram a bit? This all is the benthic region, right? So it is divided into one which is below the neritic, the one which is below the oceanic or neritic. Neritic मतलब high tide, low tide वाला zone जो continental का है. So it is divided into sub-neritic and sub oceanic. Sub oceanic zone. Subneritic will be up to 200 meters ka depth. So coming to the subneritic. Up to depth of 200 meters. So we have seen all the questions of last year. There has not been a single question of neretic biome. अभी तक यूपीएससी ने पेलाजिक पे ही फोकस किया है. बट यू शुड ऑल्सो डू द, देखो देखने के दो टाइप्स है कि पेलाजिक बायोम इतने बार पूछा है मतलब यूपीएससी पेलाजिक ही पूछती है. ये भी है पेलाजिक भी इतने बार पूछा है कि अब नेरेटिक भी पूछ सकती है, फाइन, बेंथिक भी पूछ सकती है. सो यू शुड बी प्रिपेयर्ड एंड बहुत इजी टॉपिक्स है. क्या है? इंग्लिश वर्ड्स है, एपी, मेसो, बैथी, देन एबेसो एंड देन हैडल. Up to 200 meters. Further divided into supra littoral, littoral and sublittoral. What is the meaning of word supra? सुपरा से वर्ड सुपर आया. वन थिंग इज नॉर्मल, वन थिंग इज सुपर. सुपर मतलब उससे ज्यादा अच्छा, मतलब उससे ज्यादा ऊपर. सो लिटोरल जोन के ऊपर वाला सुपरा लिटोरल, लिटोरल जोन के नीचे वाला सब लिटोरल. सुपरा लिटोरल, लिटोरल में सिर्फ हाई टाइड का पानी पहुंचेगा, मतलब जहां आप बैठोगे बीच बीच पे. एक है लिटोरल जोन जहां से पानी है, और एक है सब लिटोरल, जो सुपरा लिटोरल. वाटर reaches inundates means below, it is below the water only, only during high tide. Second, सर रीजन जहां पे पानी होगा ओनली ड्यूरिंग हेवी रेनफॉल और ड्यू टू टेक्टोनिक फोर्सेस सच एज सुनामी, ड्यू टू कन्वर्जन प्लेट बाउंड्री, या व्हेन एक्सट्रीम लो प्रेशर सेंटर डेवलप्स साइक्लोन्स के बीच में, दैट इज नोन एज स्टॉर्म सर्ज। एग्जाम में ऑब्वियसली अलग से मत लिखना, मेरे को आपको इन दोनों के बीच का डिफरेंस बताना था। सुनामी जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी टेक्टोनिक फोर्सेस, स्टॉर्म सर्ज climatology, that is low pressure system, and therefore sea level rises upwards. Littoral zone, eye of a cyclone में see for example if this is a region and during the low tide if this is the water level and during the high tide if this is the water level, so ये बीच में का region is littoral, this is super littoral, this is sublittoral. Generally littoral zone में which is the vegetation that is found is mangroves. Mangroves are generally found in the littoral zones. And sublittoral zone, ये डायग्राम थोड़ा मैं प्रॉपरली बना रहा हूँ। Understanding? Littoral, supralittoral and sublittoral. बिल्कुल ज्यादा काम का नहीं है, बट टेल मी मैनग्रोव्स फाइन या ऑब्वियसली वेटलैंड्स, कुछ कुछ रीजन। यहाँ पे एक बहुत फेमस लॉज है विच अप्लाइज इन इंडिया टू द सुप्रा लिटोरल जोन, littoral zone. That law is very famous, you must be reading that also. It is CRZ, coastal regulation zone. CRZ laws apply to the supralittoral zone. मतलब इसका भी याद रखना, what we are doing the benthic community. Means we are living, doing the animals which are staying here, animals which are staying here. We have already done the animals which are staying here, that is pelagic or neritic, and the animals that are staying in this region. When we are not doing the ये पानी वाला region. यहाँ पे कौन सी बिल्डिंग बनानी चाहिए कौन सी नहीं, दिस इज व्हाट इज द CRZ notification in India. Paper 2, CRZ laws. And the sub-oceanic benthic habitats are divided into bathyl benthic habitats abyssal benthic habitats and hadal benthic habitats. Clear? ओशन का मैक्सिमम डेप्थ 6000 मीटर्स, उसके नीचे ट्रेंचेस ही है, ट्रेंचेस पता चला इस हैडल बायोम, हैडल हैंग टैंक, हैडल बायोम ओशंस. बट वैसे इसमें दिस जस्ट फ्रॉम द इकोलॉजिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू हम ऐसे डिस्टिंग्विश करते हैं. एंड नाउ कमिंग टू द क्वेश्चन दैट वाज आस्क्ड, इज द लेयर्स ऑफ ओशन वाटर अबाउट द एबेसल प्लेन, लेयर्स ऑफ ओशन अबाउट द एबेसल प्लेन. आपने लिखा सब कुछ अबाउट द पेलाजिक, but you should also write something a little bit about the benthic, because even that is a layer of ocean. उन्होंने कहा about the ocean plain, so you should write about benthic, bathy benthic zone. You should write about neritic benthic zone, right? No need of mentioning. बस एक दो extra points, understand? Because what was the question? Layers of ocean water above abyssal plain. So you should also mention little bit about the benthic community. That is why I have given you. This is what distinguish. Any doubts in this chapter? Ocean deposits. We did the chapter that is ocean zones, ocean habitats or ocean biomes. अब उस बायोम में क्या क्या मिलेगा, डिपॉजिट्स कौन सी मिलेगी, दैट इज ओशन डिपॉजिट्स. हाफ एन आवर मैक्सिमम. देखो इसलिए मैं पूछ रहा हूं, अभी हमें पता है, कैन आई से in the hadal zone terrigenous deposits will never be found. Terrigenous मतलब which is coming from the land. Hadal zone में जाएंगे नहीं. Terrigenous deposits will be lesser in the pelagic biome. If it is present in the pelagic biome, it will be present only in the neritic part of the pelagic biome and never in the oceanic part of the pelagic biome, right? So that is what was the importance. Don't worry about introduction, conclusion in such kind of questions because ये है direct questions. This part ocean deposits is all about presentation. That is red clay Indian Ocean में कितना है, बाहर के Atlantic में कितना है, etc. And when I say it's all about presentation, I tell it only on the basis of good books, good answer के student, good students के answers, fine? That is, these are nothing but sediments found on ocean floor. Clear? Ocean deposits are sediments that are found on the ocean floor. Now tell me, what is the source of these sediments? मतलब detritus or that is coming from the organisms, plus rocks का weathering, plus rivers का erosion and deposition. So next point, these are the sediments. These are the sediments which are deposited due to continuous weathering of the rocks, continuous weathering of the rocks, comma, deposition by the rivers and winds, deposition by external agents, rivers, winds, फिर glaciers भी लिखना पड़ेगा, deposition by the external agents, comma, remain of marine animals and plants, remains of marine animals and plants, as well as some extra terrestrial sediments, some extraterrestrial sediments. Before I go further, एक थोड़ा basic चीज याद रखना. This is the land, this is the water body. ये XYZ depth है, ये XYZ depth है. मतलब obviously the depth is increasing. Sediments can be origin of silica, siliceous sediments. Sediments can be rich in iron or sediments can be rich in calcium. Tell me why seawater is saline. हमने दिया किया है salinity. Why seawater is saline? Salinity is given by कैल्शियम, सोडियम, मैग्नीशियम, क्या है सबसे ज्यादा उसमें सी वाटर में? सोडियम. व्हाई रिवर वाटर इज फ्रेश? क्योंकि कैल्शियम ज्यादा है. कैल्शियम जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी याद करना, इज अ weak rock or strong rock in humid conditions. It is a very weak rock in the hot and the humid conditions. अब रिवर में ये ओशंस को ये सोर्स ऑफ सैलिनिटी क्या क्या है? कहां से मिल रहा है ये सलाइन सोर्स ऑफ सैलिनिटी टू द रिवर, टू द ओशंस? कहां से आ रहा है सैलिनिटी? Why? Why the sea water is saline? Why? Because it is having sodium. कौन ला रहा है सोडियम? रिवर्स, वेदरिंग ऑफ द रॉक से. तो रिवर का पानी क्यों स्वीट है? तो वही तो पानी जा रहा है ओशन में, तो वो सोडियम कैसे बढ़ रहा है? देखो, द मैक्सिमम सोर्स ऑफ सैलिनिटी इज रिवर इटसेल्फ. फिर हम क्यों कहते हैं जहां जहां रिवर जा रही है इट इज फ्रेश वाटर? बिकॉज रिवर वाटर इज रिच इन कैल्शियम. 72% कैल्शियम है रिवर वाटर में और बहुत कम सोडियम है. रिवर गोज इनटू द सी एंड अभी भी जा रही है. रिमेंबर, ज्योग्राफी इज ऑलवेज इन द टर्म्स ऑफ मिलियंस ऑफ ईयर्स. तभी भी जा रही थी. So river took all this calcium and sodium and deposited it in the sea. Calcium being very weak rock was absorbed, break हो गया. And secondly, calcium is the source of food to the marine organisms. जैसे हम कैल्शियम के टैबलेट्स खाते हैं, जैसे हम दूध पीते हैं, अंडा खाते हैं, उनकी भी हड्डी स्केलेटन्स किससे बनाएंगे? Fine, they are the source of food for the marine organisms. पूरा. Some of the marine organisms have exoskeletons only of calcium. Crab, lobster. Some of the marine organisms build huge colonies of calcium. Corals, coral reefs. Fine, jellyfish. So over the period of time, the source of the calcium decreases and the sodium increases. And इसलिए हम कहते हैं कि sea water is saline and river water is fresh. But in सब का मेरा ये कहना था, कैल्शियम कहां से आ रहा है इन द सी वाटर? फ्रॉम द लैंड और फ्रॉम द सी? कहां से आ रहा है? फ्रॉम द लैंड इटसेल्फ. सो इन द सैलिनिटी, एक बहुत ही जेनरिक याद रखना, बिकॉज इन द ओशन डिपॉजिट्स, अदरवाइज दिस चैप्टर बिकम्स बिट टफ. ये डायग्राम याद रखना, इसको ऑब्वियसली एग्जाम में मत ड्रॉ करना. दिस इज जस्ट फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. टेक्निकली ये डायग्राम राइट नहीं है. सबसे पहले देयर विल बी कैल्शियम at lower depths. As we go below, the calcium will be followed by siliceous or silica based, and uske baad there will be red clay. रेड क्ले. अब क्या है ये रेड क्ले? These are sediments which are reddish in color. Why reddish in color? Because they are having rich in iron. Why it is known as clay? क्योंकि वो इतने टाइम पानी के नीचे है कि they have become very very fine, and इसलिए clay. Getting it? तो हमेशा याद रखना sediments जब हम ये करेंगे, क्योंकि ये पार्ट बहुत आसान है if you understand it. अदरवाइज ये इतना फैक्चुअल है कि लोग छोड़ के चले जाते हैं बिफोर द एग्जाम. ओशन डिपॉजिट्स. सो कैसे जाएंगे हम अंदर अंदर? कैल्शियम, सिलिशियस एंड आयरन बेस्ड सेडिमेंट्स. जितना डीप है उतना आयरन बेस्ड सेडिमेंट्स. और फिर आप खुद डायग्राम बना सकते हो. ये अगर जनरल रूल पता है, आप कुछ भी डायग्राम बना दो. Let us take, I'm quickly showing you the North Atlantic only. कैसे डायग्राम्स हो सब. So diagram, zone 1 calcium based sediments. पता भी नहीं हमें कैल्शियम है कि नहीं यहाँ पे. कैल्शियम. zone 2 rich in red clay, red clay, red clay. zone 3 मिक्सचर ऑफ रेड क्ले एंड सिलिशियस बेस्ड सेडिमेंट्स. क्योंकि बीच में मिड अटलांटिक रिज है, ऑब्वियसली वो डेप्थ वाला नहीं है. So world distribution of ocean deposits or distribution of ocean deposits in Atlantic, Pacific, etc. So ये एक general diagram याद रखो. So based on this, we'll study the ocean deposits, understanding कैसे ऊपर calcareous sediments, बाद में siliceous sediments और उसके नीचे red clay. So see we used to remember this for prelims. ये हमको सब prelims में था, geography optional में. Fine. ये पूरा का पूरा geography optional was in prelims also. कुछ भी question आता था. Red clay is covers the maximum part of which ocean? So कौन सा है deepest? Pacific. Answer directly Pacific. Getting it? Red clay is minimum in which ocean? So कौन सा ocean generally dominated by ridges etc. है? Atlantic. So sediments. कहाँ से आ रहा है? Fine. So one source is right. One source is the terrigenous or lithogenous. That is land. Second, hydrogenous, जो पानी पेलाजिक बायोम से जो गिरेगा. Fine. And third, biogenous, जो marine organisms और plants से आएंगे. Biogenous. Biogenous sediments are generally known as ooze. Ooze can be calcareous ooze, जो coral reef से आएगी. Ooze can be red ooze, petropod ooze, etc. So this is what is the on the basis of source. There are three kind of sediments. जो land से आ रहा है, जो पानी से आ रहा है, and जो animal से आ रहा है. Oceans. Rocks come in water. Coral reefs are there in water. Coral reefs die. Then the calcium gets dissolved in water. Land से थोड़ी आ रहे coral reefs. Corals are biogenous. Reefs are huge structures made by dead corals. Reefs are not biogenous. Easy to remember? First, terrigenous. They are derived from rocks and the crust. They are derived from rocks and the crust. They are derived from rocks and the crust. Second point. These deposits are coarse and large. कहाँ पे? कोस्ट के पास या कोस्ट के से दूर? These deposits are coarse and large near the coast. Near the coast, and become very fine and become finer away from the coast. Become finer away from the coast. They are further divided into. They are further divided into. That is why we find this generally tough. Contourites, Contourites. कोई आप मत चेंज करो, मुझे आपको समझाना इसलिए मैं चेंज कर रहा हूँ. ऑब्वियसली एग्जाम में ये कुछ नहीं, आप ऐसे लिखोगे नहीं. क्लियर? सो क्या है? ब्लैक, ब्लू, ग्रीन, रेड कलर वाइज, एंड दूसरा टर्पेडाइट्स एंड कॉन्टेराइट्स. इट इज नॉट एट ऑल, इट इज वेरी वेरी इजी. डोंट वरी बाय ये क्लासिफिकेशन. सबसे पहले टेरिजिनियस. सबसे पहले कौन सा है? ब्लैक मड. व्हाई ब्लैक मड? बिकॉज इट इज एक्सट्रीमली रिच इन ह्यूमस. इट इज एक्सट्रीमली रिच इन ऑर्गेनिक मैटर. जो मैनग्रूव्स का डेड एंड डिकम्पोज्ड पार्ट है, जो डेल्टा का डेड एंड डिकम्पोज्ड पार्ट है, वो ओशंस में रिवर डिपॉजिट करेगी एंड इट विल बिकम ब्लैक इन कलर. Once the humus is utilized, फिर generally the most important constituent of a rock, and इसीलिए therefore in the volcanic eruption भी हम करते हैं सल्फर. हम कहते हैं volcanic eruption में से सल्फर बाहर निकलता है, सल्फर बचता है. Sulfur gives blue color. Fine. Over the period of time, due to chemical weathering, blue mud, due to chemical reaction, blue mud is converted into green mud. Sulfur green color देता है. So जितना ज़्यादा पानी में रहेगा, जितना डेप्थ पे जाएगा, ग्रीन कलर का मड. इसलिए many times water looks greenish in color. Getting it? And lastly, सब कुछ destroy हो जाएगा except for iron. Therefore, red mud. Getting it? Red clay नहीं, red mud. Red ooze नहीं, red mud. Turbidity current is caused by on the continental shelf due to rivers which have now gone under the sea. So वो turbidity current से जो mud बनेगा, जो sediments बनेंगे, turbidites. Don't worry about the words. Words make it difficult. हमने किया है turbidity current. हमने देखा है कि turbidity current result into continent canyons below the sea, alluvial fans, submarine canyons and submarine fans. अब सबमरीन फैंस कैसे बनेंगे? ड्यू टू इरोजन ऑफ द रॉक्स, रॉक्स विल रिजल्ट इनटू सेडिमेंट्स, उन सेडिमेंट्स को आप कहोगे टर्बिडिटाइट्स. एंड व्हाट यू नो व्हाट इज कॉन्टूर? स्लोप. सो जो स्लोप ऑफ द लैंड है, वी हैव डन कि कॉन्टिनेंटल स्लोप पे देयर इज नो सेडिमेंट्स बिकॉज ऑफ स्टीपनेस ऑफ द स्लोप. ड्यू टू स्टीपनेस ऑफ द स्लोप जो सेडिमेंट्स बनेंगे दैट इज कॉन्टूराइट्स. इजी. अब कुछ नहीं है, सिर्फ याद रखो ब्लैक से ब्लू, ब्लू से ग्रीन, फिर बचता है रेड. बस ये तो सविंद्र सिंह में है भी नहीं. दिस इज चॉइस इज योर्स. आई हैव गिवन यू एक्स्ट्रा दिस थिंग. सल्फर वॉल्केनो में से आया. वॉल्केनो क्या है? Volcano is nothing but the rocks which melt and magma which is thrown away, which is the most important constituent of a gas, of a rock. पिछले साल environment ecology sulfur cycle याद है? Sulfur is the most important constituent of a rock. So rock में क्या है? Sulfur. Now your question is volcano तो हम दिखता नहीं, color change होते हुए. You should remember ये सब पानी के नीचे, इसलिए properties अलग है. Land में air है, पानी के नीचे ऑब्वियसली केमिकल प्रॉपर्टीज हर चीज की चेंज होते जा रही. यू पुट समथिंग बिलो द वाटर एंड समथिंग इन द ओपन, ऑब्वियसली उसका कलर्स एंड द प्रॉपर्टीज विल चेंज बिकॉज ऑफ द केमिकल रिएक्शन ऑफ द वाटर. यहाँ पे देयर इज अ केमिकल रिएक्शन ऑफ द वाटर दैट इज हैपनिंग. फाइन. First and then I will write terrigenous mud. Terrigenous mud. These are found in very shallow regions. This is found in very shallow regions. And have very high organic content. मैंग्रोव के नीचे की सॉइल कैसे है, कौन से कलर की है? Very have organic content. मैंग्रोव के नीचे की सॉइल is always black. So terrigenous mud is nothing but another name for black mud. Actually black mud मैंने बताया for your understanding. There is no name such as black mud. उसका name is terrigenous mud. इसलिए ये एग्जाम में मत लिखना, ये आपके अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए. Have very high organic content and therefore are black in color. Such deposits are found in the regions where water is stagnant, Example, delta, lagoon, estuary. क्या लिखोगे? लिखना मत, क्या लिखोगे? डेल्टा, लगून या एस्चुरी. कहाँ पे वाटर लेवल इज स्टैग्नेंट, मतलब वाटर इज नॉट फ्लोइंग, स्टैग्नेंट है, लगून. Lagoons, comma, in the regions of mangroves, or wherever there is higher amount of oxygen. मतलब जहां जहां ऑर्गेनिक मैटर बहुत ज्यादा है, wherever there is a higher amount of oxygen. right? Second, blue mud. You should remember, not everywhere mangroves are present, not everywhere corals are present. It depends upon the conditions which will allow them. So कहीं, so everywhere the conditions are different. So जहाँ पे life बहुत ज़्यादा है, blue black mud, जहाँ पे oxygen कम है, sulfur ज़्यादा है, वहाँ पे blue mud. So this deposits are found in deeper regions. Underline the word deeper regions. Found in the deeper regions, comma, the regions that are deficient in oxygen. Regions that are deficient in oxygen. Full stop. The blue mud is made up of iron and sulfur. FeS2. What is the FeS2? Ferrous sulfide. यूज होता है घर में फेरस सल्फाइड का सॉल्यूशन, किसके लिए? फेरस सल्फाइड जनरली कहाँ यूज होता है? मेडिसिन, हॉस्पिटल्स में यूज होता है फॉर सैनिटेशन. डॉक्टर्स या डेटॉल बिटॉल से सैनिटाइजर नहीं यूज करते, उनका सैनिटाइजर बिकॉज इट इज फुल ऑफ जर्म्स हॉस्पिटल्स, सो उनका सैनिटाइजर अलग टाइप का होता है. इट इज ब्लू इन कलर, फेरस सल्फाइड. ओशंस के अंदर ब्लू मड. जो हम सैनिटाइजर यूज करते हैं, डेटॉल सैनिटाइजर या एनीथिंग, रिमेंबर दैट इज नॉट दैट पोटेंट. वो जनरल लाइफ के लिए ठीक है कि बाहर आप चले गए, बट इन हॉस्पिटल्स यू रिक्वायर फेरस सल्फाइड का सॉल्यूशन. कभी कभी बहुत आपको बहुत ज्यादा देयर इज अ घाव वो सब लगी है, चोट लगी है, आप फेरस सल्फाइड ऊपर डालते हो ताकि जो भी जर्म्स है मर जाए. नेक्स्ट, यस, नेक्स्ट इज ग्रीन मड. ग्रीन मड generally found at the depth of 150 to 3000 meters. Generally found at the depth of 150 to 3000 meters. Understanding? Shallow regions में black, फिर थोड़ा अंदर जाओगे तो blue. 50 to 3000 meters. This mud is rich in potassium, iron and glauconite. And glauconite, कुछ नहीं, एक मिनरल है रॉक का, glauconite. Basalt gets sometimes converted into glauconite. So Iceland कुछ सालों बाद फिर से ग्रीन कलर का हो जाएगा और उसका नाम भी ग्रीनलैंड जैसे हो सकता है. Greenland is green in color because it is dominated by glauconite. Next, blue mud is converted into green mud. Blue mud is converted into green mud through the reaction of seawater. Through the reaction of seawater. Red mud. Red mud. Sometimes the mud which is extremely rich in, or the mud which is rich in iron oxide, iron oxide. Sometimes the mud that is rich in iron oxide develops red color instead of green color. Understanding? Develops red color. जरूरी नहीं कि green color में turn हो जाए. If it is extremely rich in iron oxide, it will develop red color. We have done chemical weathering, oxidation. The rocks that is rich in iron undergo oxidation and develop reddish color. The same thing is happening here. Develop red color due to chemical weathering. Due to chemical weathering. Red mud is extensively found. Red mud is extensively found in the Atlantic Sea, in the Atlantic coast. In the Atlantic coast. Turbidites. ब्लू ग्रीन ये केमिकल वेदरिंग से हुआ या फिजिकल वेदरिंग से हुआ? ये किससे बनेगा? टर्बिडिटी करंट मींस फिजिकल. बस यही फर्क है टेरिजिनियस डिपॉजिट्स में. These are formed due to turbidity current. Turbidity current and are an examples of clastic sediments. And are an examples of clastic. Clastic मतलब physical weathering, nothing else. Clastic sediments. They are arranged in graded manner. They are arranged in graded manner. They are arranged in graded manner. Graded manner means somewhat you can draw the diagram, this diagram. Shingle, sand, mud. Shingle is सैंड से थोड़ा बड़ा पार्टिकल्स, कुछ नहीं, सैंड से थोड़ा बड़ा पार्टिकल्स, फिर सैंड और छोटी हो जाएगी, फिर मड, और उसके बाद ऐसे अरेंज हो जाएंगे इन द ग्रेडेड मैनर. Arranged in the graded manner. And the last deposits. देखो ये कुछ भी पेलाजिक डिपॉजिट्स नहीं है, ये ऑल आर नेरेटिक डिपॉजिट्स. अभी तक क्वेश्चन नहीं आया ऑन द नेरेटिक डिपॉजिट्स. Contourites. The deposits that are formed, मतलब एक जगह से दूसरे जगह, the deposits that are formed due to ocean currents and thermohaline circulation. Ocean currents and thermohaline circulation are known as contourites. Are known as contourites. Fine. So that is terrigenous deposits. We'll continue with the pelagic and other deposits.